welcome to Everything Jenny. I'm Jenny Bergen, and I want to thank my new subscribers, and I want to thank my returning subscribers. So thank you for coming and joining in my podcast today. I'm happy to have you here. And today I'm filming on a location where I am vacationing on a mini vacation for my birthday in Big Bear. So you can see I have a quite different background today. And we decided for my birthday, it's in a couple of weeks, but we decided to get away for a weekend, and this was the weekend we could actually get away. So we came up to Big Bear, and we've had perfect weather. It's supposed to be down at home, it's supposed to be pretty hot in the high 80s, but up here it's been in the day high 40s, low 50s. But we had some dear friends come up yesterday, and we went to the village and we had lunch at the Big Bear Brewing Company. We shopped a little bit. We went to a yarn shop, which I'll tell you about in a minute. We had basically, the weekend is designed to be relaxing and to take long walks with the dog and to knit, and my husband's painting. So we're just kind of having a relaxing getaway weekend where we don't have anything that we really have to be committed to. So anything that we feel like doing, we've decided to do. So you can see it's a little bit chilly. I'm wearing my cabled scarf. So I don't know if that's showing very well, but my little cabled scarf and my little beanie, which are all knit by me, handmade by me. I don't remember any of the patterns. I apologize. If anyone has questions, I can certainly look it up. You can just let me know in the notes, and then I can look it up and find out what patterns they were. So let me start today with talking about this little local yarn shop that we went to. And it was kind of a wide range of yarns. It was the Yarn Designers Boutique in Big Bear City. And it's kind of an eclectic mix. There's some very inexpensive yarns to some very pricey yarns. So when you walked in, it kind of had this small feel, but it just kept going and going and going. Rooms just kept going farther and farther back and off to the side. And so it was this really kind of awkward setup. And I knew I wanted to get something to commemorate my weekend. When I travel, I like to buy yarn and make a little something. And so I thought the best thing for this trip, since I'm kind of high on stash right now and projects, would be to get something small to contribute to my Cozy Memories blanket. So with that in mind, I have heard, let's let the car pass, I have heard about the Reggie I yarns. And so this yarn was there, and a lot of people have been talking about how they make socks with it. And I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. I'm not completely sold. It is a mix of 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide, which gives it kind of a little scratchy feel. I like the color. I think the colorway is Galaxy. The thing that I like about it is the color. But other than that, I feel it's a little scratchy if I was going to make some clothes out of it. So what I decided is that I would buy this and not spend too much money, and that I would go ahead and make a square for my sock blanket. So this is going to be a contribution to my sock blanket and my Cozy Memories sock blanket. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a square for myself, and then I'll probably wrap up some mini skeins for swapping with people. And we'll see how that goes. But I haven't actually knit with it yet. But I do feel that the polyamide and the superwash are making it just a bit scratchy for something that I'd actually want to wear on my body. Now, after washing, maybe it's different. I'm not really sure. So I'll give it a try. I'll see how it works out. Then, thinking of my Coziest Memories blanket, I recently picked up this Star Wars mini skein set. Hard to see here. It's in the plastic, so forgive me for that. But you can see here the colors, hard to see a good spot of it, are all for different things with the Star Wars movies and characters. And so it looks like there's a Darth Maul and Yoda and maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is twist sock yarn. It's 80% merino, 20% nylon. And they are 40 yards and 10 grams. And it's from Min Train at Etsy. So I thought, my brother is a huge Star Wars fan. So big of a Star Wars fan that he has a child named Anakin, Leia, and Kenobi. So he has 3 children, all named after Star Wars. So I thought, well, what perfect thing to add to my Cozy Memories blanket. And every time I see these squares, I will think of my brother and his family. So now that you've seen my Cozy Memories blanket information that I've got, the shawl that I was working on last time, and I hadn't made much progress, was the Whispering Pines shawl by Molly of A Homespun House. And you can see I've made quite a bit more progress. So it's growing and growing and growing, and it's still that nice purple kind of color. And it's kind of hard to see, but as the colors are variegated, when you look at it in person, you can actually see some of those little snowflakes I was worried about not seeing, those little pearl bumps. So those actually have turned out quite nice. And they're not overwhelming, and I'm sure on a solid fabric it would show even more and it would be even more beautiful. But since I still wanted to stick with this yarn, you kind of see them, and that'll have to suffice. So I'm only about 10 rows maybe away from starting the lace pattern. So this pattern, this 4-row repeat, is almost done. It's about 10 rows away. And then I will start the lace pattern for the edging. So I'm hoping I will have that done to show you next week so that you can see how that turned out. And I think it's going to be good. And I'm hopefully going to be able to wear it for my birthday celebration with my family next week. So hopefully I get it done and blocked and everything's good to go. So that's the Whispering Pines shawl. The hiker socks. I have the hiker socks that I told you I finished the one hiker sock. And this is the progress that I have made on the second hiker sock. So this hiker sock, it has, maybe just under 4 inches done in the leg. So I still have quite a bit to do on this sock. And I didn't get to working on it this week as much as I'd have hoped because I was working on, of course, my shawl and some other things. And I did have some teaching that I did this week. So I will get this done. Hopefully, again, this will be done very, very soon. And luckily this week, other than this nice little trip up to the mountains, it's been very warm at home. So when I say very warm, for us in February at 78 degrees is pretty warm. So he hasn't needed the socks yet at home. And it would have been nice to have them this weekend here up at Big Bear, but it is what it is, and I didn't get it done, so he had to suffice with store-bought socks. Not a big deal. So I'm going to get that done and get that progress done, and he's going to have these nice warm socks, and it'll happen at the perfect time when the actual weather is permitting it to wear something really warm and cozy, and maybe it'll be raining, and he'll feel really good about having those socks. And then the other pattern I said I was thinking about starting was the Rustling Leaves beret. And so I have started that, and it's out of Woolfolk. And it starts with the US 2 or 2.75 millimeter needles. And this is just the ribbing pattern. And so I have just the ribbing almost done. I think I've got another maybe 2 or 3 rounds to go of the ribbing pattern. And then it'll start the really pretty leaf pattern that makes up the rest of the beret. And it's in this really pretty gray colorway, and it's really, really soft. So this yarn is just super, it's super cushy. And I think it's going to make this awesome hat. And I'm really looking forward to having this cozy hat that's going to just be amazing. And so that one is on its way, and it started, and I'm going to have some more progress for you next week, and you'll actually be able to see the start of the Rustling Leaves actual pattern for the top of the hat that continues after you have the brim. So that's perfect. And then my finished objects, I'm so excited. Last week I told you I had the cruiser mittens that I had started, and I made the women's small or the child's large because my hands are small. And it was in this Tannenbaum, and I knew when last Monday that I wanted to get this done to be able to come up to the mountains. So I have finished my cruiser mittens, and it's a little bit hard to see with the light, but you can see this really pretty cable pattern and see how, there it is a little bit, the cable pattern and the mitten. I love the mitten. Now, I was not familiar with the thumb, the cast on, and the way that the thumb was knit. It was a Norwegian method, and so I had to Google it and figure that out, and it was simple once I got started, but reading the pattern, I was a little bit confused. So, but they turned out really nice, and I love them. They're so warm. I wore them the other night at home when it was really cold, and the only thing on me that was warm was my hands. So making it out of the Madeline Tosh vintage in the colorway Tannenbaum, it was perfect. So funny story, as I'm working on them and my husband's seeing them and he's saying, oh, so you're making mittens for yourself, nice, and finally something that you're making for yourself that's close to finished. And then as he's looking at it, he also has small hands, but not quite as small as this. He says, I would love a pair of those. So, of course, I'm going to go ahead and make him a pair. But the colorway that he wanted was the Madeline Tosh vintage in Whiskey Barrel. And so I went to the local yarn shop and they didn't have it, so I had to order it. So he's going to have to just wait for his mittens because the yarn wasn't there. I couldn't get started. So I got mittens for the weekend up here at the snow, and he has to wear some of his old gloves. So, but it all worked out really well, and he's going to be excited to have a pair of mittens. And they knit up super fast. They were maybe a total of 4 hours for both mittens. So I got those done and they were awesome. And again, super warm and cozy. I think I'm going to make another pair. I had the yarn that I used, it used up about half, just under half of the skein. And so using just under half, I have enough to make the same size. And so I'm going to make another one, and then I will decide if I'm going to give them away to someone or if I'll just keep an extra set for myself, but I might hold on to them and give them away as a gift at Christmas to someone with really small hands. If I make the larger size, when I do my husband's, I will have a better idea of how much yarn it's going to take. I'm not really sure how much because I'm going to make him the medium size, and it would be the women's medium really because he does again have smaller hands, and so I'm going to make that size for him, and I'm going to let you know how much yarn it actually took. So I believe that I had 54 grams left out of 100 grams, so I'm not 100% sure how much will be left if I do the larger size. But when I find that out, I will let you know. And then I am, this week, going to be casting on the Come What May Shawl by Susan B. Anderson. And I know it's a little hard to see there, but it's just really lacy and pretty and soft looking. And it actually, let's see, it calls for 420 yards of yarn or 100 grams, and it's of like a sock weight yarn or a fingering weight yarn, and it says 1 skein, and then it's US size 6 needles with circular needles with a 32-inch cable or longer. So I have that ready to go. And the yarn that I chose for this, I met this dyer through my local yarn shop, and she's amazing. She's the Material Culture Fiber Arts. She hand dyes her yarn, and she's in Claremont, California. And this yarn is a 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 10% tencel. It's a fingering or sock weight yarn. It's 430 yards, and it's obviously hand wash in cold water. And this colorway is called Sand Riot, And I chose it because with my birthday being in February, I don't often go for anything really pink. Even to do the other shawl that I showed you in the purple and pink kind of colorway is a stretch for me. I usually am grays, browns, maybe some blues and greens, but I don't typically go for anything bright and flashy. I make it for other people, but not for myself. But this one's going to be for myself. And this colorway is amazing. It's got white, obviously, as the base, and then it's got these purple and pink, and there's these little bits of blue in here, and I thought it was just amazing. It has some paler pinks and then some really bright pinks, and I know it's hard to see here, but you can kind of see this colorway, and it's just amazing. And this yarn is so soft, and I love it. So it's Material Culture Fiber Arts, and she sells on Etsy, so I would highly recommend her yarn. And it's going to be just super amazing to have this shawl made from her yarn. And the last time I talked to her, I had told her that I was interested in learning more about how she dyes. And so we sat and we had a really long talk, and we talked about dyeing and how some people dye in their kitchens, but she has a dedicated space for dyeing her yarn in her garage, and she would highly recommend that because she says she would not dye in her kitchen. There's just too many things that could contaminate her kitchen. And so I thought, well, that's something amazing to know, and I'm not sure that I have a space currently at my house that I would be able to do that. And so something that I would love to do, but I'm not sure that I would have a space for that. So that shawl will be cast on this week, maybe even this weekend while I'm up here in Big Bear and working on my shawl. And as I finish maybe my other one and get to the lace rows, or maybe finish the lace rows today, I'll go ahead and start the next shawl. And then I have one more project that I'm starting. And this project is the Be My Valentine Socks. So let's see if I can show you a better. There, Be My Valentine Socks by the Cozy Knitter. And I love these socks. They are so cute with this nice little right here design in the pattern. And then this does have the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I have not tried. So I am anxious to try that. And this calls for one skein of a coordinating sock of if you want to do your heels and toes and things in a different, but one skein of a self-striping. But I decided I'm going to do it with a different yarn. And let's see, it's a US 1 needle. And again, you have to be familiar with the Fish Lips Kiss heel and the Judy's Magic Cast On by Kat Bordy, or she demonstrates it on YouTube. So I'm not sure if I know what that is, so I'm going to look it up and see if I know what it is. But the yarn that I chose for this is from Republic of Wool, and they have, it's hand-dyed, fine hand-dyed yarn. And the weight is twist fingering, and the fiber is an 80-20. It's superwash merino and nylon, and it comes with 400 yards on in the skein. And the colorway is Punk Rock Girl. And so, again, it's a really bright color for me, but I thought, well, they're socks, and I want something fun with a little pop, and so it's hard to even see on here the brightness of this yarn. This yarn is like fluorescent pink, and it has bits of brown and darker, like a gray almost to black, but it is really, really, I mean, it's hard to see here, but it is fluorescent pink, and it is the brightest pink, I think, that I've worn since I was 13 and had those parachute pants, and they were in this bright pink. So this is the sock I'm going to use for those Valentine socks. And again, just being that my birthday is in February and there's all these colorways that are kind of awesome and I wanted to try this month, I thought I'm going to give it a whirl and see if I can make that happen this month. So that calls for the size 1 needles. So I'm using my, I'm undecided. I have my circulars. So I've got these circulars that are my carbons, in the size 1, US 1. And so I'm undecided if I'm going to use the 40-inch circulars, or I did just pick up the Knitter's Pride Carbons US 1 in the double pointed needles. So I know that as it gets further into the sock and I have to switch to double pointeds, I will definitely use these if I choose my magic loop method. But if I don't and I just start with these, I will let you know how it's going. I've not done the socks with the Carbons double pointed needles before. So I've done it with the wood, but with the size 1, I found that the wood double pointeds, I'm terribly afraid of breaking the needles. So I do it with the circular magic loop and then move into the smaller needles. But I'm completely terrified that at some point I'm going to break it in the middle of my project and drop all my stitches and have a complete panic attack. So I've decided that that's not going to happen. So I ordered these, and I will let you know if I decide to start the project and just do the complete sock with the double pointeds, or if I'd use the 40-inch circular and then move into the double pointeds. So that's pretty much all of the things that I have that I've been working on today or this last week. I finished up my Love Notes postcard project, so I did send out my last postcard last week. And because of planning to get away for the weekend, I didn't try any new recipes or anything like that. And with, again, the teaching that I did this last week, I didn't have time for any extra sewing projects, but I did work on some design work. So I will get to showing you those projects as soon as they're ready. And I've been working on, because we came up here for the weekend and I didn't have a chance to bring everything with me, I tried to limit what I brought. I didn't bring any of my art project stuff that I'm working on currently. And I'm hoping to show you some things that my husband's also doing in art that maybe he works on this weekend. So overall, I did mostly knitting projects this week, and mostly it was things that I took while on the road, in the car, traveling. I mean, even the drive up here, we hit traffic, so we spent what would normally be about an hour and a 15-minute drive to get up here was more like 2 hours or so to get up here. And so I spent the time knitting, so it didn't bother me, but I know it was a little stressful for my husband. But this week, this coming up week, I'm planning to get some of those projects going, and I will hopefully have some progress to show you on each of those projects and have some more finished objects for you, and maybe, again, some artwork to show you. So we'll see how it goes and what I've got going and what's on the needles and what I'm able to finish and get done in my crazy hectic schedule. And this week I do have another one of my gate classes, so that'll kind of play out how much I have time for everything, because I do have to prep and then teach and show those kids about Picasso. So otherwise, I hope you've had a fabulous week. I hope you have a terrific future week coming up here. And I will definitely be checking in for next week, and I will be back at home, so I will have more of my craft room that you'll see for my background here, and hopefully it's not been too distracting. I know it was tough for me to be able to sit down and actually record my podcast because I was excited to be here and be in the snow, and so I am planning to get as much done this weekend as I can, and I will see you next week. And thank you for stopping by, and go out and touch someone's life this week, be an inspiration to someone, be able to share the best parts of yourself with someone else this week. So I hope you have a fabulous week. Hugs.